Hey, good evening, or whatever, depending where you are. Welcome back, or welcome for the first time. I've been watching suddenly this increase in subscribers to my channel, and I'm saying, oh, wow, thank you. Thank you for joining and welcome. And if you are joining for the first time for this live, just so you know, this is a very informal setting. Welcome to my living room, where the studio is just, as you can see, it's like so professional. The cat will usually be wandering behind me, and children will come barging in at any minute. And anyway, but in the midst of this, we'll have a nice conversation, and we will talk about the news. And honestly, I don't know what kind of news you guys get in the West, but there is some stuff going on right now that is, shows signs of escalation and possible return to the war. The U.S.-Israel war in Iran. I mean, who knows? Don't want to be a warmonger here, as many in the media are wont to do. And that is, of course, to bring viewers and to keep viewers, etc. And but what I am reading and what I am seeing has raised a lot of questions. Like, for instance, after the no-show talks in Islamabad, the Iranian foreign minister, Abbas Araghchi, he went to Islamabad, and then the U.S. canceled. Trump pulled the plug. He was like, nope, not sending my envoys. That's it. It's too long of a flight. Not worth it. You got my number. Call me. But where did Araghchi go after that? He was in Islamabad. He met with the Pakistanis. Then he flew to Oman. I think it was Oman. And then from there, he eventually made his way to Moscow. And that is what we're going to talk about today. What was he doing in Russia? And what does that mean? What does it mean for the future of this conflict, or for the future of the ceasefire? And also, what is going on with Hezbollah in Lebanon, and between Hezbollah and Israel? And we have the introduction of a new weapon that is actually going to prove very difficult for the Israeli army. And that's just been introduced as they are on the cusp of having talks between Israel and Lebanon, the government in Lebanon, as opposed to just totally bypassing Hezbollah and making, pushing them to the side and saying, okay, guys, your days are numbered. And then Hezbollah is like, oh, but wait, we've got a new weapon. So anyway, that was just a little intro. I just want to say hello to Debbie and hello to Carol and John. Thank you for joining. And if you are new here, feel free to introduce yourself. Feel free to comment, to ask questions that we try to answer. And anyway, welcome. Let me know where you're joining from. It's really exciting to hear. We've got like a bit of a global audience. Now, right now, I just rewound the news a little bit. There was an Israeli soldier killed yesterday in a drone attack, in one of these drone attacks. And I wonder if I can find the video fast enough. Not of that incident, but of another incident. There was the Israeli soldier who was killed, I think 19-year-old Idan Fuchs from Petah Tikva. His girlfriend is also in the military and is an observer. So she actually watched the attack in real time, but didn't know, until after that her boyfriend was there. She asked the guys who were evacuating the wounded, was he down there? And they were like, no. But she found out later that he was killed in that. So that is, the funeral took place today. Anyway, so I think it's about 16 Israeli soldiers have been killed in the war against Hezbollah, just that section. No Israeli soldiers were lost in the attacks on Iran. But of course, now this is all separate and following the October 7th war, which went on for 2+ years. So anyway, so let's talk about what is happening. Lots of stuff going on right now. And I might be a little bit all over the place with my notes, but let's talk about the, oh no, I got to find the video. I'm going to find you guys the video because that will help us talk about the drone that this new drone that's come out. So let me see if I can find specifically. Yeah, I think I found it. So, all right, let me go back to the chat. I'll share this in a second so you guys can see exactly what I'm talking about. This is a drone that escapes detection. It's the way it's built. I'll read you the details in a second. I'm just learning about this myself today. So let's take a look at the video here. These are Israeli soldiers, I think, evacuating. Wow, actually, this one I have not seen. I think they're evacuating wounded. You see the helicopter. Now here comes the drone. If you look up to the sky, it looks like they just noticed it and they're running. The helicopter takes off and it explodes. So this is in southern Lebanon, and the question is, how did it get that close without Okay, so they're trying to shoot it, I think. And this is like it was like 1 meter from the helicopter. In slow motion. So you see that coming down. Okay. Jerry, there as well. Hey, hi, Jerry. Okay. All right. So anyway, so let's talk a little bit about this drone because this is, wait, where did I open up the notes on this one? Somewhere else entirely. This is a fiber optic drone, and it's apparently Ukrainian built. It uses a thin fiber optic cable, which makes it immune to electronic jamming and difficult to detect. So now, right now, Israel has an amazing air defense system. Like when there are missiles coming in or drones, there's a defense system that will, alert, like it gets triggered and you get an alert on your phone. You get then the sirens if it's in your area. but these drones are not detectable. So it's very interesting that they have just pulled these out now. Let me see what else we can uh, read about that. They're also, I think, where did I see that they are sort of remote control or something? Where is that? Fiber optic drone range use. Let's see. And this is something they apparently used they use in Ukraine, or it's developed in Ukraine. Um, they say it's tethered to the ground, connected to the ground through a fiber optic tether. This is insane. So this is obviously something extremely dangerous for the military now to deal with. You know, the military is very deep into Lebanon. They have not withdrawn from southern Lebanon, and so they are um, right now like in the range of fire of things like this, of these drones. So they don't necessarily need to use, like, the Hezbollah doesn't necessarily need to use uh, advanced weaponry. It can use drones like this, and as you can see, they can go after a group of soldiers standing in one area, or go after the helicopter that landed, because the military is very well entrenched in southern Lebanon and is not planning on leaving. So I'm just going to also bring you over to a piece in the Jerusalem Post, or let me get this link here, because this is an interesting article. The person who wrote this, Seth Frantzman, is an expert in drones and has written books about it. So here, let me find this article. Okay. Hezbollah enhances drone capabilities by learning from Ukraine war tactics. Hezbollah is upgrading its drone tactics by incorporating fiber optic tech and strategies from the Ukraine war, aiming to enhance its attacks against Israel amid supply shortages and evolving threats. Hezbollah has been increasing its use of drones over the course of its war with Israel, while seeking to use new types of drones and learn from other conflicts. The group is also drawing lessons from the war in Ukraine, where both Russia and Ukraine have invested heavily and significantly scaled up their use of drones on the battlefield. Hezbollah initially began the war in October 2023 with access to Iranian drone technology. This primarily consists of one-way attack drones. These types of systems are usually about the size of a person or a small car, and they fly based on a series of waypoints or directly toward a target. They have a warhead and can slam into the target. There is no man-in-the-loop control, and the drone usually does not maneuver. These types of drones are relatively slow moving and can be shot down by planes, helicopters, or by air defense systems such as Iron Dome. Hezbollah had used drones that could maneuver and return to Lebanon in the past, usually using them for surveillance. The more complex threat that is emerging is the use of drones that not only maneuver, but are also harder to jam. Israel's Channel 12 noted the terrorist organization as a type of drone that is operated by fiber optics. The drones are controlled from a distance of about 15 kilometers and carry up to 6 kilograms, something like 13, 14 pounds, of explosives. The point of using fiber optics is to make the drone impossible to jam, since it is connected to the operator by a very thin line. The report went on to claim that Hezbollah has turned to using drones controlled via fiber optics. With this technology, electronic warfare does not affect the vehicle, and Hezbollah is able to control it from a distance of up to 15 kilometers. These are drones similar to the ones used in the war in Ukraine. So this is a new type of escalation that's going on in the war. And of course, this is happening all the while we're still wondering, where the ceasefire is going, if it continues as like in perpetuity, or if something is going to go, decisions, negotiations, talks, will there be a truce? So right now everybody is pretty much in a holding pattern, and bringing out these drones has escalated the situation, at least on Israel's northern border and in southern Lebanon. Oh wow, there it is, right there. That's on TV right now. So anyway, that is something to watch. This could also be right now. Let's talk a little bit about Lebanon. Let me see where I have Lebanon in my notes, because things are happening there with who the negotiations, who's saying what. Let's see. Let me see. Okay, the Naim Qassem, who is the head of Hezbollah at the moment, he said he's like new, like maybe a year and a half into the position. So he put out a statement earlier today saying the enemy, meaning Israel, has reached a dead end. The resistance continues. It is strong. It cannot be defeated. And then he threatens the Lebanese government, and he says the Lebanese government must not or must stop direct negotiations with Israel. We will never give up our weapons. That is the crux of the matter, is that Israel wants a demilitarized Hezbollah on its northern border. And of course, actually, Lebanon is starting to say the same thing very publicly. So they're both Lebanon and Israel, which do not have diplomatic relations, both of them are now saying the same thing. Okay, but Hezbollah reiterating, we will not give up our weapons. He also said if not for Iran's intervention, there would have been no ceasefire in Lebanon. He said, we will return to the status quo that existed before March 2nd. That's when Hezbollah jumped in to the U.S.-Israel war on Iran. They said, we will not surrender. He said, we will not betray the blood of our martyrs. Our capabilities are not measured in months or years. The Trinity is faith, will, and ability. What a quote. The Lebanese people will return to their land down to the very last centimeter. Well, I don't think anybody else was really concerned that the Lebanese people were not going to return to their land. Well, maybe he's talking about the Lebanese supporters of Hezbollah, because not all Shiite Muslims, but many Shiite Muslims are, supportive of Hezbollah. Okay. Also, let's see. The president of Lebanon, Joseph Ayoun, accused Hezbollah of betrayal. In an official statement, he said, did you achieve national consensus when you started the war? Did you guys ask, like, everybody in Lebanon, did we want this? Entering negotiations, he's talking about on his part and for Lebanon, entering negotiations is not betrayal. Betrayal is dragging your country into war for external interests. So what else? Hezbollah is saying, a senior military official in Hezbollah said, also has threatened Israel that they will begin using tactics from the 1980s. So now they've got these drones, but here's another tactic they want to reintroduce: suicide bombers. They actually want to send suicide bombers toward the villages toward the Israeli troops, wherever they are, which they have now established themselves in certain towns and villages in southern Lebanon. So they want to start sending suicide bombers. Now, do they actually have the capability of doing that? Do they have people signing up for that, like they did back in the 80s and also in the 90s? The Palestinians did. What they say here, large numbers of suicide bombers will be deployed in the occupied areas according to pre-prepared plans. Now, Israel's response to that was that this is the defense minister Israel Katz said to the UN, to the United Nations envoy to Lebanon. He said that Naim Qassem, the head of Hezbollah, is playing with fire, and the president of Lebanon is gambling with Lebanon's future. There will not be a reality of ceasefire in Lebanon alongside fire on our forces and on the communities of the Galilee. Now, this is all coming after Prime Minister Netanyahu told the IDF on Saturday. He said, go all out, expand your fire, go back to doing airstrikes, and so they did. Israel has begun airstrikes, not just in the south, but also like further north in Lebanon, and that is definitely an escalation. Now, all of this is happening under the guise of a ceasefire, if you can believe this. So there hasn't been much of a ceasefire. This is also impacting the northern communities in Israel. The authorities there have just announced that they're going to close schools from tomorrow. There will be no schools open. No, just in the north, Raya. Don't get excited. You were sad? I don't know. These kids are like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde with their "we love school, we hate school." Oh, I wish there was still war. Oh, I hate the war. I don't know. So anyway, but up in the north, they really don't have time to respond when there are sirens. I don't know if Hezbollah plans to deploy the drones, the fiber optic drones, to civilian areas as well. So far, they're just using them against the military, which is in Lebanon proper over the border, but they haven't necessarily used them in Israel. But they've canceled, the government canceled this huge celebration that happens every year on this crazy holiday called Lag BaOmer. And it's like something about the counting of the Omer, in the Old Testament. I don't know what is that in relation to it. Never mind, I don't know. But they have this it's like this fire burning holiday that it's turned into, and there's this huge gathering in the north. Once like 40,000 people, I think it's the ultra Orthodox Jews that I don't know if you can't say they worship this rabbi, but they will go pay their respects to different rabbis or whatever that they follow, and they go up to the north where these tombs are, and they have this huge gathering up there. And so Israel's already canceled it. They said you cannot have it this year because of the threats to the north, even though there's an alleged ceasefire. Okay, so now let's shift gears a little bit to Iran and U.S. negotiations. Now, nothing is happening that we can see, but there is a lot happening behind the scenes. Now, like I said, Araghchi, the foreign minister, visited Russia. I'm sure that is part of whether it's shoring up support, whether it's talking about weapons or protection or strategy or intelligence. Anyway, he was there just now, and I can get for you some of the comments. Araghchi met with Putin. Now, Araghchi said Russia always supports us and we always support it. We have a strategic alliance. And let's see if I have any other tidbits from there. Not necessarily that visit specifically, but Ibrahim Rezai, a spokesperson for Iran's National Security Committee, was talking about Pakistan and said Pakistan is our friend and good neighbor. Now, Pakistan is the one hosting the ceasefire talks. But he said, but it is not a suitable mediator for negotiations and does not have the necessary credibility for mediation. They always take into account Trump's interests and never say anything contrary to the wishes of the Americans. For example, they are not willing to tell the world that the US initially accepted Pakistan's proposal, but then backed out. They also do not mention that the Americans had commitments regarding Lebanon or the frozen assets, but did not fulfill them. A mediator needs to be neutral, not someone who always leans to one side. So that is, they're expressing a little bit of disappointment in Pakistan, which is supposedly this neutral mediator. And I wonder if the US would say the same thing. Pakistan has good ties with both Iran and the US. They need to have good ties with Iran because of the border that they share, a 900-kilometer border. They also could have good ties with the US economically. I mean, very important. They're also a big trade partner of Iran. So in many ways, just on paper, Pakistan, it could have been a good mediator. But in any case, this just tells us that there is no breakthrough in negotiations at the moment, or at least that's what we are gathering and surmising from the situation. Now, let me see if I have other. Wow, that was a lot about the drone. Too bad I just wasn't on this page telling you guys about the drone. I had all of these notes right here. By the way, with the fiber optic drone, if you cut the cable, the drone stops functioning. It's cut off from like the mothership. So it's done. So that's very interesting. So it's basically like what's good for Hezbollah at the moment. It's like cheap technology, as are the suicide bombers. And so it looks like I wonder if this speaks of a financial crunch and a supply shortage for these, what do you call it? For these drones. So, okay. And also the guy writes here, launch and forget at zero cost with maximum damage. Like it's just like a really cheap, easy technology. Okay. Now, so Lebanon. Okay. All right. So we're wrapping up here, by the way. Latest statement from U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio. He said Iran is only serious about buying itself time. And then then I think there are supposedly meetings going on involving also Trump today. But I mean, like there's probably meetings all the time. So I don't know that that's necessarily news that we'll have to be like, oh my gosh, President Trump's meeting today. So anyway, so there's that. Okay, but here is the big news is that the buildup of the U.S. forces in the region is continuing. And so that it's like actions maybe are speaking louder than words. Now, also, in the meantime, according to President Trump, in Karg Islands, the oil supplies are just getting like backed up. Like they're not able to ship the oil out of Karg Island, which means it's just backing up in some way or another. So he said that can't last for too long before there's something they've got to get it out. Otherwise, they're just good. Like they've got nowhere to store their oil. So that's just about the blockade, which is like the blockade within a blockade, because Iran is like, oh, hey, we're blockading and you must pay us a toll and we're controlling the in and out of everybody in the strait. And then the US was like, oh yeah, well, we're going to go here and then control your control of the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. So anyway, so while that's going on, the talks seem to be dormant. And I would think, like, if you are living here and you're not watching the news, then it's like, oh, so there's nothing going on. But at the same time. You will meet people, like I can't tell you how many times today I ran into people on the street or at the store or whatever, at the supermarket, and it's like, "Oh, how are you doing?" "Well, okay for now." "Okay. All right, well, let's see." Like everybody is expecting another round of fighting. And you can see like they're not, the US has not withdrawn its troops. The troops seem to be, and the military equipment, um, the aircraft carriers, and now what was this? The C-17 heavy transport aircraft. 15 of them made their way from Europe to the Middle East. Somebody wrote from 0 to 100 in an hour. So that was his analysis of the situation, and that is fully what he is expecting, is that this is going to escalate very quickly and very shortly. No idea, but I will be here to keep you posted. That brings me to the end of this live for tonight. Thank you so much for joining. And anyway, if this helped you, if you like the information here, please give this a like. That would be awesome, and it would probably get this channel a little bit better into the YouTube sphere of algorithm and whatever. And also subscribe and share if it's helpful, if you found this helpful. Okay, well, thank you very much for joining. Stay tuned, because there's always stuff breaking, and we love to report it. So anyway, thank you very much for joining, and ciao. Have a